Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. This is Starters Orders 7 tutorials, tips, tricks, cheats. And today we're going to go over the two schedules I have put together. There is a flat save schedule for the USA, and there is a UK schedule for jumps. Now both of these are designed to work with the StartIt mod made by MJ over on the Starters Orders forums, MJ Tags. And it's a great mod. Default schedules are good, but I wanted something more complete. I wanted something that had more races from around the world, bigger races. I wanted really there to be a jumps game because that can crash quite a lot using the StartIt mod. So a jumps game that was reliable to play, had a full schedule, and had a lot of grade ones. So if you have watched the previous videos in this series, then you will know some of the trials and tribulations that we had, some of the challenges putting together these schedules. You'll know the version 1s and version 2s of these schedules were good but not great, and we've continued to tweak and feedback and different comments such as, hey, this race is named wrong. This race is at the wrong race course. This race is the wrong distance. Have you thought about adding this race? Hey, can you make sure such and such is in the schedule? So I've taken all that on board and I have come up with schedules that I like. And I'm happy to play and I'm releasing them because people have asked about them. I'm releasing them on here for y'all to look at. So the first thing we're going to look at is the basically my little cheat sheet of when certain races are that kind of mean something. So here we've got, our UK jump save. This is the first one. Because I think there are some good flat saves out there, and mine's tweaked a little bit, but it's not too much out the ordinary. So I want to start on the one that's a little bit less vanilla and realistic, to be fair. So Dublin Racing Festival, we got the 8 races in, so this is how they're going to appear in game. Nathaniel Lacey Hurdle, the Tatsel's Juvenile G1 Hurdle, the Arkle G1 Novice Chase, Unibet Irish Gold Cup. All those are going to appear on February the 6th at Leopardstown. And then the Coral Dublin Chase, Tatsel's Novice G1 Hurdle, the Flogas Novices Grade 1 Chase, and the Irish Champions Hurdle. So those are the races that are going to appear early February in this UK jump schedule. So we've got the Dublin Racing Festival. We've got 2 races for 4-year-olds. The rest are 5-year-olds and up. You can see the distances on the side. So this is kind of how I denote it, so I can kind of easily tell what's where. And if I'm ever looking for a certain horse to run, at one of these meetings, and I don't know exactly when or which race, and I'm trying to find a distance, and I need to find a 4-year-old race at 2 miles. Well, I know I can go for the juvenile G1 hurdle or the Irish champion hurdle. They're both 2 miles. They're both 4-year-olds. I can do that. So this is kind of what you'd expect to see on top of a fairly normal schedule. This is on top of what comes with the StartIt mod. These are kind of the big changes from the StartIt mod, I'll say. So this has been put together. And then the Cheltenham Festival, we've kind of expanded that out a little bit. So, we've highlighted some races and tried to make a bigger deal of the festival because in the default StartIt schedule, they're not huge. But the Champions Hurdle, the Mayor's Hurdle, the Queen Mother, the Chase, the Stayers, and then the Cheltenham Gold Cup on day 4. So big meeting, other races involved. But really, each of these meetings that we're putting together are headlined by a race, and it's usually going to be the last race on the last day. That's kind of, the Irish Champions Hurdle, the Cheltenham Gold Cup. So there is more prize money on the Cheltenham Gold Cup, and it's more of a prestigious race now in game terms. So I'm trying to highlight certain races, a little less realism, but again, trying to force all the best horses into the game to go into these races and, make them more competitive, make it more special, and can also highlight them. Then you can go and check who the past winners were, and know that they were a pretty good horse because now it's a more prestigious and competitive race. So that's a little tweak to the Cheltenham. And then the Grand National at Daintree, we got the Betway Baldney Hurdle. Day 2 is headlined by the Melling Chase. And then day 3, the Stayers Hurdle. And the Grand National, which is no longer a Grade 3 handicap, which is realistic, but now it's a Grade 1 non-handicap, which is unrealistic. But the game's going to treat it as such more of a priority, much more of a priority. Just all distance horses of quality are now going to be targeting this because it's not a Grade 3 anymore. It's a Grade 1. It's not a handicap race. And the game does sort of rank races in certain terms. So it doesn't really have a prestige rating or anything. I've bumped the prize money up because that's kind of how you gauge how important a race is. So Grade 1 is the highest level of priority for a race. And there's a huge amount of money, prize money. I think it's £5 million. I bumped the Grand National up to from like 1.2, I think it might have been. So we're just really focusing everybody in the UK jump schedule to the Grand National as like the ultimate prize, which in my estimations is what the Grand National should be and is. And then comes even more lack of realism, but something I think is definitely missing. So I created a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and then 6-year-old and up. So 3 different Triple Crowns. The first legs are all going to be run at Ascot as part of my new National Hunt Cup meeting. And I've basically designed races. I found where gaps were in terms of distances for 4-year-olds and for 5-year-olds, and built races to fill those gaps. I looked at where there were kind of dead spaces in the schedule where I could fit these meetings. And then I decided to go and do some research and kind of find a list of big names in the jumps history, really, in UK and Ireland. So that's why we've got Dunkirk, Monksfield, Persian War, Isterbrack, and Kauter Star, all having names, races named after them. So this is my National Hunt Cup. They do kind of, have a lot more prize money and prestige. They don't have prep races. They don't lead anywhere. You can track them. You can ignore them. Whatever you want. But they will be a part of this schedule because I feel there's a need to. And the more prize money, the better horses get entered. The better horses that get entered, the more those horses develop. The more Grade 1s you win, the quicker your horse develops. So for any game breds out there, which, aren't running Grade 1s and winning and not developing, they're going to sire a lot of horses that aren't that good. And over a few years, if your schedule doesn't have enough of these big races, you're kind of just going down a path where you've got a lot of mediocre game breds. And so your horses that you're going to be breeding with your own horses or importing from other games with high stats are kind of just going to dominate. And I don't feel that's kind of interesting. But building it this way with these National Hunt Cup races now, there's a lot more Grade 1 races. There's going to be a lot more game bred winners. They're going to develop. They're going to become better horses through their 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old seasons, especially with the Triple Crowns as well. And from there, they're going to sire even better horses who are going to go into the same pool of Grade 1s and Triple Crowns and the new Gold Cup, the new Grand National. And over and over and over, they're just going to be getting better the same way your horses are. And so I think it's a more competitive and more kind of fun world to play in. If you disagree, hey, that's cool. There's other schedules out there. I wish you all the best. You can create your own. You can go in and edit mine and take those races out. Not too hard, just look at this video, pause on each of these meetings, search for these names in the schedule, and just delete the entries for the races, and then that's it, And if you want to know how to edit the schedule files, etc., there's videos in this playlist that fully go over it, so feel free to do that. But this is what I've done. So I've got the 4-year-old races for the first leg of the Triple Crown is going to be the 1,000 and 2,000 Guinea Juvenile. Then I got the 1,000, 2,000 Guinea Hurdles for 5-year-olds, and the 1,000 and 2,000 Guinea Chase for 6-year-olds and up. And they're all split between fillies and colts. The CCF is for both. It's for fillies and colts. So, yeah, that's just our Ascot meeting in May. Then, towards the end of June, we move to Cheltenham. We run the 4-year-olds in the Derby Juvenile and the Derby Juvenile Oaks. I don't know why this is marked that way, because the Oaks are fillies only, and I know they're right in game. So let me just make sure my files are up to date there. The 2000, I believe, should be for both. Okay. I'm trying to make sure this is written down right, but I think that should really be right. I think that should really be right. That's how it should appear in the schedule. And if not, just let me know, and I can go in and kind of fix these things. You can fix them yourself. You can change bits, etc. Again, how to do that is set up in videos already in this playlist. But yeah, we move into the Derby Juvenile and Derby Juvenile Oaks. Derby Hurdle Oaks for 5. At 6, Derby Chase Oaks. At Cheltenham, we're honouring Moscow Flyer, Night Nurse, Annie Power, Analog's daughter, and the highlight of the meeting is Arkle. And you can see the distances are slowly going up as well, and just highlighting different sort of different ages and different distances, and kind of spreading them out throughout the season, and just making sure, like I say, there's big important meetings, and all these are worth very good prize money. They should attract really good horses. The third leg of our Triple Crowns and the National Hunt meeting comes in Aintree in mid-September, and we got Sprinter, we got Dawn Rum, Flameboat, Millhouse, Desert Orchid, and Red Rum. That's just a bunch of the best horses ever to run. Jumps that I think has existed. So I haven't tried to highlight every horse that's really good, or a lot more recent horses. It's kind of, fairly realistic to have names of horses from many past years in general. But we do finish off with the St. Ledger Juvenile and St. Ledger Juvenile Oaks, and then the Hurdle Oaks, Chase Hawks, again 4 to 5 to 6. So you've got a complete Triple Crown for 4-year-olds, a complete different Triple Crown for 5-year-olds, and then a complete different Triple Crown for 6-year-olds and above. So you're always going to have these horses getting something to run of value at age 4, age 5, and age 6. And I think that's going to help early development, because in a jumps game, you're not really going to get to your prime before 7, maybe 8, where, you're going to run a lot of the big races. But the Grand National, you can go into at age 6 on this schedule. And sort of by that time, you've kind of gone through these meetings as well. You're probably going to be a little more ready for some of those big races. So I think it's good to develop your horses, good to develop the game breds, and just build a far more interesting, far more complete calendar where it doesn't matter how old your horse is, anywhere from 3 till it retires, 20, whatever the upper limit might be. Anywhere in that range, you should find a race at the highest level, no matter what distance you're running, between 2 miles and over 4. There should be something that you can reasonably run on this schedule. And that's something I think version 1, version 2 didn't handle very well. Gonna flip over then to I got my game notes up there, it doesn't matter, but I've got my UK game notes up top of the UK schedule, because it's a living document that I use. And my US, that's just basically a list of all the jockeys that are really good in order all the way down. So I can always find someone if I'm like running multiple horses in the same race, or for some reason I can't use my jockey. And that's just trying to figure out my Triple Crown runs. But yeah, if you haven't seen my UK jump schedule in action on its own playlist on this channel, and my US flat jumps, my US flat schedule in action, that's also on this channel in its own playlist, so please do go check those out too. But yeah, 41 grade 1 races for 2-year-olds. There's also a bunch of grade 2s and 3s scattered about, but we've got an early February, we've got 2 towards the end of May, and then from July onwards is pretty good throughout the rest of the year. But yeah, the start of the year is a little lackluster. But there are other races, and really, as 2-year-olds, you shouldn't need, too many huge races very early on, because you should really be running a maiden, and then maybe an allowance race or a grade 3, a grade 2, and then moving up to a grade 1. And if you're leaving the 2 weeks between each of those races, really you shouldn't be ready for grade 1 much before April anyway. So I don't think this is too wildly out of kilter. I think it's fairly well balanced, but 41 grade 1 races for 2-year-olds. That's a lot. Also, we've got some miles set in there as well. So you got your 6 furlongs and whatnot. You might have to wait a little bit to 5, but it's mixed in there. They're all kind of reasonable dates for when the races are actually run in real life. And we do top out the Criterium to St. Cloud and the Hopeful in Japan. Both of those are a mile too. So good distances for your 2-year-olds. You should be able to get everybody at least 1 or 2 grade 1 shots. And you shouldn't really need more than that as a 2-year-old. But again, feedback on your experience is key, because it may vary. But this is just from long time playing and talking with other people who have played for a long time. This should be more than enough to kind of put you in the right place. And then we've got our Triple Crowns. March and April, we've got the New Zealand Triple Crown, and that's 7 furlong, a mile, and a mile 2. Moving on to the US and Canada, I've stacked them 1 day apart, starting in early May. So we've got, a mile 2, slightly over a mile 1, and capping out at a mile 4, of course. For those that don't know, the US Triple Crown, and especially the Kentucky Derby, is my favorite race in the world. And, my favorite horse in the world ever is Secretariat. And so both those facts together should kind of merge quite well, if you know much about racing. So I'm always going to highlight this one, but I wanted more on the schedule. So we did layer Canada over, because it's exact same distances, and if you've got 2 runners and you're trying to figure out which one you should run, well, no, you can run 2. If you got 3, it's okay, hold off till the middle sort of portion of the calendar, and starting in June, ending in the end of July, You can run France, Australia, and or South Africa because they're overlaid as well. 20th, 21st, 23rd to start, 25th, 26th, 27th to end. They all start at a mile. They all end at a mile 4, with South Africa being a touch longer. And they've got a mile 1 for South Africa, a mile 2 for Australia, a mile 210 yards for France. So, again, just good options. And the last couple of videos, we've actually gone through the New Zealand Triple Crown. Then in the next video in the series, I went through US and Canada and booking my horses and seeing how we did. And then very recently, we've gone through and completed the French, Australian, and South African Triple Crowns. No spoilers, but some were easier than others. We had varying levels of success. We got very unlucky in some points. I think slightly lucky in other points. And without discussing results, I'm actually very happy with how the schedule looked and played and felt. My only issue is we did have game breds that were jumping from one Triple Crown to another, like leg 1 of, I want to say, Australia, and then they went and ran leg 2 in South Africa. And that might be a distance thing. They might have been looking for a mile 1, but I don't know why they wouldn't wait 2 days then to run this and follow the prep race trajectory, which has been set up in the schedule to point horses into different directions. So if you do well in the first leg of a Triple Crown, the game kind of points you to leg 2. So there's been a bit of that, but apart from that, I'm very happy with the quality of horse, the challenge, the levels we were running, and I know how good my horses were, and we weren't just dominating. Win, lose, close second, mid-pack, whatever happened in the race, changing different bits and pieces, like it just all felt very competitive and very not very understandable, very relatable, and just I can see why what happened, and it allowed my horses to be good, but not dominate because they're not. Some of them weren't great. I feel you could kind of feel that throughout the whole thing. So, yeah, that's kind of it's kind of been the focus of that US flat save we got going on at the moment. So go ahead and check that out. We're just coming up then into August on the 8th and the 9th, and then a month later for the subsequent legs. We've got the UK and Irish Triple Crowns. That's coming up next for us, but like I say, in the schedule, that's how they appear. And again, a mile 4, and then a mile 6. UK's a touch longer, but they're going to be very tricky to win, but so are the real versions. Anyway, so I haven't changed anything. They're just tough to win. So, yeah, you're going to have someone that's kind of adaptable enough to get down to a mile and then get up to a mile 6. So mile 3's in the middle. If you've got someone that you think runs a mile 3 quite well, you've got a horse with high distance adaptability. Or you've got a horse with like a ton of stamina that jockey instructions can kind of get down to a mile and maybe win. It's going to be really interesting to see how that comes across and how that plays out. But I do think the easiest Triple Crown is first. Then these are the next easiest. Then this trio is the next easiest. Because it's all about the distances between the beginning and ending legs. I think that kind of really stacks up the difficulty. Then the UK and Ireland are very difficult indeed. And, okay, there's a little over 6 furlongs between the shortest and longest distance. There's only 5 lengths difference in Japan, but you start at a mile 2. And you've got to go all the way up to a mile 7, which a lot of horses won't. So I'm classing Japan as the most difficult, plus it's the latest in the schedule. So yeah, it starts a little later than the UK and Ireland, but then the second legs and third legs actually match up with those. So yeah, I figure we'll get every single 3-year-old that can run a mile 6 or a mile 5, let's say, mile 5 to 2 miles across these 3 races. The St. Leger, the Irish St. Leger, and the Kikushu. We should get everyone in there. So kind of a fun end to the season. Ramp the difficulty up, but 9 separate Triple Crowns you can go to, and you could easily, you could run New Zealand, one of US, Canada, one of France, Australia, South Africa, and then one of UK, Ireland, Japan with the same horse, and take 4 Triple Crowns in one season with one horse. That is possible. It's going to be absolutely difficult, but it is possible. I've also made a few small changes, basically to the ages of horses eligible for certain races. So I've limited all these races to only 4-year-olds if they weren't before. But you can take your sprinters to this 6 races here. They should all be at a mile, or I think one might be 7 furlongs and a half, maybe. But realistically, yeah, we've got good races at a mile. At 6 furlong. These are all at a mile. I think one might have been 7 furlongs, 110 yards, and we changed it. I'm not sure. I think actually they were all a mile. We had a different option that we didn't take, maybe. But I have also stretched out these throughout the year as well. So February, March, April, June, couple in December. Highlighting the Everest, of course. Big money Australian race. The milers, they get their 6, and there's some big races in here. January, February, June, September, November, December. And these aren't the only grade ones you can run, but these are kind of like the big highlights. But 6 for sprinters at 6 furlongs, 6 for milers at a mile. We've got 6 at a mile 4 with the Yuri Makinen half a furlong longer in Japan to end out. But again, March, July, October, November, and December. Huge races. Huge races here. King George, the Arc de Triomphe, the Japan Cup, the Yuri Makinen. 4 out of the 6 are massive. And the Hong Kong Viz and the Shima Classic are very big in their own right, too. They're just... really, Japan Cup and the Arc de Triomphe are bigger than the other 4, but the next 2 of them bigger than the other 2 as well. There's something grand about this. And if you do have a mile 4 horse as a 4-year-old, we do have a bunch of really cool races to run. For anything at a mile 1 or a mile 2, which usually is my US Triple Crown runners, if they don't jump in terms of stamina and distance after that, you're kind of looking at the Pegasus World Cup, the Saudi Cup, which has been renamed the Saudi World Cup in this schedule, and the Dubai World Cup. 3 early races. And, yeah, if you win all 3, there's a ton of prize money on the line. But yeah, it gives 4-year-olds something to do. It highlights a bunch of really cool races for 4-year-olds. And these are the ones I will follow if I've got a really good sprinter. I know I'm going to put other races in the mix, but these 6 are going to be my 6 I book straight away for them to go into, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a very good schedule, a very complete schedule. And so they are now online. The links will be in the description and in a top pin comment. It's not going to be a proper link because YouTube doesn't like proper links. But I will be clicking this link and I will be editing it so that you can put it together, or remove the dots and the /, and I'll put those words in brackets so you can kind of go ahead and find it. But they're on Mediafire, and they're the same places as my my graphics are, which again is another video in this playlist to add extra graphics. So you can go ahead and figure all that out as well. If you want to install the StartIt mod and install my graphics on top of all that, that should put you in a really good place to have your game looking and feeling the same as mine and playing on the same schedules as I'm playing on. So if you like what you see on my US flat schedule or my UK jump schedule, this is how you go ahead and make it happen. The flat schedule for the America is this one. It's got an F, it's got USA. The jumps in the UK is the J and the UK. So where do they go? Well, if you're on PC, I can help. Because in your documents folder is a starters orders 7 folder. Let me just pull this down so you can actually see this bar. So documents, and then starters order 7. And then there's this little exports folder. And then you'll see here schedules. And now there's going to be 4 numbered folders. Should be empty if you haven't got any other schedules you've downloaded or installed. But these will be in the same order of the game. So you can see UK, USA, Australian, and Ireland. Don't know why I've got 2 versions of the game. So UK, America, Australia, Ireland. So if you're putting schedules together, then this is the nation they're going to appear in. So you just need to make sure that you have my Army USA schedule in folder number 2, because that is the USA one. And for the UK, it'll be in folder number 1, because that's the UK folder. So you can ignore the others. I've downloaded somebody else's schedule. I've edited a default schedule together there that I'm trying to work on. And I've put all my workings at each step in a workings folder here. And I've also got each step. So I started with this schedule. These were my first edits to build my US flat schedule. Then I used the best one of those, the most complete one of those, to start. And I went through all these different iterations, solving problems, bug fixing, adding races, onto a third one where I came up with, these in order. And then this one, which I have now updated and fixed the problems from the save I'm actually playing and the series we've got ongoing, which then becomes this one, which is why I've uploaded this one. And why I went through all these to get to this, found issues with this schedule, and now have updated it to this, which has been uploaded. But this is where they go. Your documents folder, starters orders, exports, schedules. If you're on Mac, I don't know, wherever your save data is. So wherever your saves are, and you can search for this file, ttf.db, and that should lead you to your saves folder. Because all these are your saves, and it's got different bits, but this is your transfer file. And so you should be able to find that quite easily to mark your save folder. And then you just come up one level from that. You should see the exports. And again, schedules, UK, USA, Australia, and Ireland. So just put them in the right place. UK, USA. And then when you go to load your game, you'll be able to see when you're creating a game, just make sure you use the StartIt mod. You can go into the UK, jump schedule, and you should see it in this list. And then you can go ahead and create the game. If you doing the US flat schedule, you can go to US flat, start a new game, and there's my flat USA schedule. And like I said, I've got some testers. These are the ones I haven't fully updated, but these are my ongoing playthroughs that I am running on the channel. I will say that I'm currently in schedule editing mode, so to get everything to show up correctly, I actually have had to change my database folder, and again, that's part of the schedule editing tutorials that are already up on the channel. But you can just see from North America, a lot of these races are already in. There are some missing. There's some conditions races missing. I don't feel that's a bad thing. You can just see the amount of grade 1 races, grade 2s, grade 3s. And again, even from the UK, we've stacked a bunch of races and then put in a bunch of other races. And we've done that with a lot of these places. So that's fine. I do have to go ahead and rename these. Because I have renamed these. So this is the actual DB folder. This is what the game looks for and operates from. This is a copy of the modded database folder from within StartIt, so it can pull the right information for the feature races, which of course the main game won't have, because that's why we modded it, to add a lot more of the feature races and the modded data. So when I'm editing databases, I use this folder, I rename it to DB and rename this something else to keep it there. And then I'll rename it back, because otherwise the game will crash when you're trying to create or play a save. But now it is all set up, I can point it towards the StartIt folder, so it's going to match the data to what's in the schedule. I'm going to create a UK jumps. I'm going to go down, set my schedule here. I don't play with legends, so I'm going to turn that off. And then we just wait for the game to be created. It is going to take a little longer than normal. It is going to look like it's frozen a couple of times. If this bar kind of gets twice as far as it is now, then it's already past the first crash point. If it gets about halfway, it's past the second. The third crash point is in the middle of that M on building form. And so if it passes like halfway through the M, that's the third crash point. And then if you added the word form on again, just after those triple dots, at the end of that would be the last crash point. So if you get that far, you'll be fine. And okay, we got through it okay, no crashes. I've never seen a stable virus on day 1 before, but I guess that's fine. Wow. Full stamina bar on a 5-year-old. Interesting. Not amazing stats, but a couple of solid 5-year-olds. Nothing crazy, but like for starter horses, not bad. Actually, not bad. And yeah, we can really see if we look at all time. Sadly, on the jump save, you don't see the grades, but you do on the flats. So, but you can also just see here the ratings and everything. So, Avoir is 170 rated, which is pretty high up. I believe it maybe goes to 180. So yeah, 8-year-old only ever won 3, but it's won some really big ones. And you can see here 4 million prize money, the Cheltenham Gold Cup. And the second biggest race in my National Hunt Cup that I've made, 3 million prize money on that. It also did okay at the Isterbrack. So, yeah, you can kind of take a look at these horses and see this horse just did really well. It won the Grand National, which is the 5 million race. It tried the Arkle, and it tried the Desert Orchid, didn't do much. But this is a winner of a brand new high-level Grand National. So you can kind of go through and see. And then you can just add these here. If you click on this button, whenever it's at auction, you will be able to follow them. But yeah, early on in a UK save, the Irish horses will dominate. I do suggest going for 10 years. I do think that's worth it. It takes a lot longer to start the game, but I think you get yourself in a good place and you can see kind of a lot more quality from these horses, I'll say. So if you sort by career money, that's usually some of the better horses. And you can kind of figure out why. But it won the St. Ledger Juvenile last year. Cool. And also by rating, you get some of the top things, but just horses, highest earners of all time, and then you can sort by rating and see, or you can do it by career money and just see. And you'll note there's a lot more grade ones than in your usual jump saves, because that's not the point of a jump save, but it is kind of my point of a save and my frame of reference. So I have kind of skewed real life and starters orders into more of an American version, which is what I understand and what I like to play, and also what I feel just develops better horses. They're still going to develop in the same sort of ages, so 3-year-olds on the flat races, 4-year-olds on the hurdles, 5-year-olds in chase races, 6-year-olds in feature races, and above that then you can start going for big races. But now we've got some 4- and 5-year-old races that are only for 4- and 5-year-olds. So you can kind of step up if you're ready. If you've got really good horses, you can try those and try and kind of accelerate your development. But that's what I do. I kind of look at the horses list, and then I'll go into the breeding and just take a look. And we've got some grade 1 winners. We've got some high rating horses. You can check on prize money and also on record. So, like, is there any horse that's won a bunch? We can also look here, and when you've got multiple years under you, not just one, the average earning index and other things here, like the percentage of horses that have won a race, that have won a stakes race, how much money each horse that they foaled has earned, how many group wins each of their horses foaled has won. So you can kind of go through it that way. Sadly, again, because it's jumps and grades aren't something that jumps games care about, for some reason it doesn't display here. But yeah, I feel that looks okay. I don't feel that looks too bad. You can see here on previous tests, I do 10 years, and you're playing in season 11. Here, we did 1 year, you play in season 2. And just to show you again, so, we've got a StartIt loaded, US flat. We're going to go down to the next one. Select my USA schedule, and exactly the same. No legends. Let this generate, and I'll come back when this has just popped or is about to pop, so you can see what that looks like, and again, just what the game world is going to do, and kind of why I feel there aren't any issues. But again, if your mileage varies, please do let me know, and I'll be happy to make some changes and re-upload. This doesn't take anywhere near as long for some reason, but I'll be back anyway. Okay, this literally just popped a second ago, and we've got an injured horse off the start. Lovely. Kind of weird. You'll see as well we get younger horses because, like we discussed, US and UK have different kind of ideas about racing and different ways they work. But again, jumps will be set a certain way. So are flat races, and especially in America, 2-year-olds, you run a maiden and maybe allowance races, conditions races, etc. And I try and get grades on. And if we've got really good horses, I try and get a grade 1 on before the end of their 2-year-old season. Grade 3, year 3 is really their peak. 3-year-olds running the Triple Crown, that's kind of their peak. And in this schedule, we've built in, plenty of places they can play as a 4-year-old and get some stuff done and really make that exciting as well. So that's kind of it. You got a 3-year season, as a 2-year-old, as a 3-year-old, as a 4-year-old. That's your racing career in America. You won't even be at your peak in the UK. You can't race as a 2-year-old. I mean, there's a couple of races, but not really. 3-year-old is just flat racing. Even though you're a jumper, you're still only doing really flats as a 3-year-old. 4 and 5, you're moving slowly up the ranks and developing. And kind of 6-year-old to 8-year-old, 9-year-old is kind of where you start the peak. So it's very much an elongated time frame. But yeah. Quick look at these horses. Are they any good? Not really there. We got a grade 2 winner out of our starting horses. I'm not sure I've ever seen that before. I have seen it before, but like not very often. That's ultra rare. Okay. Yeah, definitely for a starter horse, doesn't look the worst at all in a grade 2. Injured horse is very injured. Yeah, a couple of weeks. Not much, not really anything to worry about. But then horses. So rating wise, plenty of options. Career money. 5 grade 1 wins. 6 grade 1 wins for Why Worry No, which is fun. So it's won a maiden. And then it's won 6 grade 1 wins. It came second in the Queen Mary as a grade 2. And it came third at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. That's it. A second, a third, 1 maiden, and 6 grade 1 wins. Not bad. Highest earners all time. It's not going to be too different, but at least the group button works. You can see that actually this 5-year-old's got 8 grade 1 wins and 2 grade 2s. Some pretty fun races there. And I've always got to check. May 2nd, Kentucky Derby. Rolling Aces, the 4-year-old gelding with 5 wins, did win it. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, a mile 3/4 in the Derby, a short head in the Preakness, 4.5. 4.5 in the Belmont. Rolling Aces won the Triple Crown. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Triple Crown winner in the one season we simulated. The best thing about it is it wouldn't even be worth buying because it's a gelding, which I guess you can't say. Let me. Doop. There you go. It's a gelding, so you can't breed from it. It's been neutered. But yeah, okay, sure. Very fun though. Very, very fun. Yeah. Yeah. Won the Everest. That's where its money's come from. So, yeah. US schedule. built, filled, tons of races, great ones from around the world, 90% of the domestic races, some tweaks here and there to fit. But like I say, from 2-year-old all the way up, at all different distances, at all different times of the year, there should be roughly something that suits. And if you've got really good horses, like I say, you should be able to compete at the top end level. So, yeah, some pretty good horses in the barn already. There are some pretty good horses in the barn already. But yeah, that's kind of the two schedules. So, as I say, it's that easy to install. It's that easy to set up. And you're just going to be selecting. So, pretty good there. You just put them in your schedules folder. The UK schedule under 1. US schedule under 2. And you download them from Mediafire using the links in the description. So any other questions, any other comments, any sort of feedback, instant reactions, let me know, comment section down below. Please do smash like and subscribe, because that does help get the channel out there and get videos like this out there and helps other people find all this cool stuff. We're trying to build a community. We're trying to help people learn how to play starters orders and to get better at playing starters orders so you can enjoy your games more. And Starters Orders 8 is coming out next year. Probably, I would say, end of February, start of March is likely, unless we hear more from Mark, the developer. Then I would estimate somewhere around there. But that gives us, what, like 9 months or so to really enjoy Starters Orders 7. So these schedules are going live. They're out there. Enjoy them, test them, see what you think. And like I say, any feedback, let me know in the comment section of this or any other ones of my videos. Check out the other playlists as well, available on the channel, and the memberships that are there. And I'll see you next time. Till then, take care, stay safe, all the very best to you. And I wish you luck, much luck, and great success in your saves with these schedules. See you folks there.